Chapter 3. Pete and I headed along the overgrown trail for a while. Thankfully, it's not too hard to make out, since whenever it looks like it's finally going to peter out into nothing, it widens a bit, or winds through an area with less undergrowth, so it's easy enough to discern. The minty scent of pine needles is overwhelming out here, and they constantly brush against our clothes and bare skin whenever we push between trees closely packed together. They always create a sharp, itchy sensation on my flesh. "Yeah, this was a great idea," Pete mutters as he scratches his elbow for the millionth time after we push through another clot of bushes. "Oh, knock it off, you big baby." Though, I honestly kind of wonder if he's right to be sarcastic. So far, this trail is more annoying than exciting. I also can't help but notice the hoots and gibbers of who knows what types of woodland creatures exactly are lessening as we go, which is kinda weird since we're going farther into the forest, away from human civilization. If anything, you'd think the animal calls and noises would be getting louder and more frequent. I mention that strange fact to Pete. He shrugs. "Yeah, I don't know." Words of wisdom from my younger brother. The sky keeps getting cloudier too, dimming the forest more and more, although we're still able to keep track of the trail, and I know it's not supposed to rain, at least according to the forecast. I can't double check on my phone now or see if the forecast's changed though, as there's no signal or internet access out here. Another wonderful trait of good old Grover Canyon State Park, which means that, over the next few days, I can't even text any of my friends about all the very terrific times my family and I will be having. I mentioned that annoying fact to Pete, too. "Well, at least you have a bunch of friends to text if you could. I mean, who would I text? Marley?" Well, yeah. Marley, a super shy and nice kid who's always wearing t-shirts and sweatshirts that are way too big for him, is Pete's only friend. I know Pete appreciates him, though. "At least Dad's always there for us," Pete says, as though transitioning back to the middle of the conversation we were having earlier, stepping over an especially mossy log lying in the middle of the path as he does. "What do you mean?" I step over the log, too. "You know, he's always home in the evenings and around on weekends. Mom's always working, like non-stop." He's not exactly lying about that. Neither of us are all that close to Mom, really, but when she's doing such amazing, important work for the betterment of all mankind, and everyone in the world knows and really appreciates and respects that, you can't blame her for missing out on a little quality time with her kids, right? I mentioned that to Pete. "I don't know. I think she's kind of selfish, or maybe addicted. Either way, it's sad, and I honestly don't think it's right." "Of course you don't, Pete. You love Dad and his dumb comic books." But I don't say that. I don't want to get into an argument with Pete. As much as I give the little guy a hard time sometimes, I really do love him. Plus, he's as tough and wily as a human-sized crab to beat in a debate. Still, I can't help to think back to career day at school when lots of parents came and talked to the class about what they did for a living. Mom was one of them and was clearly the rock star of the bunch. She's so famous and is in loads of primetime commercials for her incredible pharmaceutical company, PharmCorp. Everybody in my class already knew of her and was so impressed with her presentation, they kept asking me questions about her for weeks afterwards. Kids still sometimes randomly come up to me and ask me stuff about her. I let out a light sigh as I remember how she stood in front of the class during that legendary presentation with her sharp, perfect-fitting business suit on her tall, slender figure. "So remember, everyone, when you're old enough to have wrinkles, give Paxidermic 56 a try. It'll lend moisture and essential vitamins to your skin, softening it up considerably and straightening out some of those pesky wrinkles. I know it's a very long way off before any of you will need Paxidermic 56, but whatever you do, don't forget about it. I promise me you'll be so glad you did. That's Paxidermic 56, everyone." And that's Mom. Always selling. Always promoting her company and all its amazing products regardless of who she's talking to. She really is incredible. Come to think of it, she'd already invented Paxidermic 56 when she beat cancer at 13 years old. I bet she would have used it to help clear up her black, crusty skin. Suddenly the trail ends and Pete and I slip between another pair of closely wedged together pine trees, which irritatingly scratch my bare arms and legs. We step out along the rim of a canyon and just gaze down at it. It's actually pretty nice as canyons go. A good size, maybe a mile across, a quarter of one deep if I'd a guess. the forest surrounding it on all sides. And wouldn't you know it, a series of narrow emerald-colored cracks run along the bottom, some pretty straight, others weaving wildly while connecting with and splitting off of others. But there's something else, too, smack dab in the middle of the canyon. I squint hard, but I can't really tell what it is. It just looks like a tiny gray square from up here. I point it out to Pete. What do you think it is? Dunno, but I hate to break it to you, Sandy. This trail doesn't exactly lead to anything more interesting than what we're probably going to see a trillion times with Mom and Dad. Just another canyon with those emerald vein things in it. I let out a longer, wearier sigh than before. Yeah, I guess you're right. Oh well. I'm about to turn around and head back when another idea hits me. Hold on, why don't we go down and check that gray thing out? He gives me that overgrowth sprouting from my hair look again. Is it weird that I feel like some kind of superhero woman whenever he does that? Really? You're kidding, right? I mean, that thing looks more boring than Dad's Saturday morning socks after he's neatly folded them in his dresser drawer. I chuckle. Hey, that was actually kind of funny. He beams as if I just gave him the biggest compliment in the history of mankind. But not that funny, I say. The smile drops off his face and his scrawny shoulders droop. I'm just kidding. Come on, let's do it. It won't take that long, and who knows, maybe we just discovered something like the emerald veins that we'll become famous for. Except this will be called the tiny gray boring thing that nobody gives two cruds about. I didn't mention the fact that it's extremely unlikely since this old trail clearly leads here, so obviously people have been here before, but I'm glad it brings a smile back to Pete's face. I like it when it's there. He gazes down at the canyon, then back at the woods where the somewhat distant bark of what sounds like the Doberman suddenly wafts from. At least I hope it's somewhat distant. Either way, my spine stiffens and Pete's eyes go mostly white. Okay, let's do it, he says, and we start trekking down the side of the canyon.